Hey, what's going on everyone? Before we get into this video, I just wanted to give a quick message. This entire video was pre-recorded and is now a few weeks old, so a couple of the spots on this list have become a little bit more known since I recorded it, but I had to delay the upload because I got my wisdom teeth pulled and I couldn't record any audio for the spots. There are chapters in the video's timeline, so if you just wanted to skip to all the locations for the coordinates, feel free to do so, and if you find yourself using any of the spots, let me know down in the comments which one, and that's all I wanted to say, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. Our number one spot is actually the only rat hole on this list that I found myself, and I have not seen any other videos on this rat hole yet, so it should be relatively hidden. The entrance is going to be a crouch that leads into a drop down. Drop down's honestly not the best, but you do have a lot of vertical space, meaning all your turrets are going to be higher up and going to be really hard to get down, and they'll be hitting headshots on anyone that enters. You're going to have to learn to work with vertical space very well for this rat hole, but if you know how to do that, you can make a lot of space out of this. There's a little cubby down at the bottom that also gives you some space to work with. You cannot fit an indie forge in here, but if you're playing on a modded server that has the AA forges, or there's another one, I think it's like the QOL mod, they have smaller forges as well. Those both should fit in here. You do have a couple environmental factors that also benefit the space spot. You're near Greenob, so you have poly, you have a terminal which you can transfer out of if you don't have tech engrams yet, which is very helpful early game because you can bounce between maps, getting resources from other maps as well. You also have two metal mountains nearby, which is huge. You cannot actually exit the rat hole without putting a foundation up there to crouch on, so that is a downside to this rat hole. But as you can see, with all these turrets up high, it's going to be really hard to knock them down. I think that this death wall part would be really good because you do have to crouch to get to it. And as you can see, there's the smaller forge, it does fit. Refining forges fit. You can get small teleporters in here. I believe you'd be able to fit medium teleporters. Obviously this base design isn't the best. It's just to show you what could fit in here and what you could potentially do with it. There is another little secret to this rat hole. Be very careful when using it because most servers won't allow it, but there is a Pelagornis rat hole inside of this rat hole that you can use for even more space. Personally, I would move your crafting station down to that bottom area and just store your loot up here, so that way you have more room for vaults, cryo fridges, etc. And your gen can be all the way up there, powering the very bottom turrets and these top turrets, meaning they have to go through all your defenses to even drop the gen. That's always a plus. Teleporters do work, the beds do work. Not sure if you can build here on official, that's something you would have to test out if you're an official player. But the Pelagornis rat hole, if you come right up here and take a right, you actually don't have to throw the Pelagornis in here, which I find out here in a second. You can just fly your Pelagornis in there, which is kind of weird. I didn't think you'd be able to. But if you throw your Pelagornis in there, you can whistle it out. It should fly directly out, and then you can fly directly back in. It's pretty much the same size as the rat hole itself, so you pretty much get twice the space if you do utilize this, but be very careful. On some servers, you are not allowed to build here. I do not advise breaking the rules on any server. If you're going to play a server with rules, you should just follow those rules or play on a different server, in my opinion. So you can place teleporters in here to make it easier. You don't have to continue using a Pelagornis. I did not test beds in here, so I'm not sure if the beds work. I would imagine they do though, considering they worked in the other one. moving on to the second one. This one has become significantly more known since I originally recorded this video, but we ended up raiding this base spot before, and it's actually very difficult if set up right. Fortunately, the tribe we raided out of here was terrible and built it terrible. The only two dinos that can fit through this entrance are Ovis's and the Pyromane when you have it in the shoulder mount form. Obviously, all the other shoulder mounts fit, but you're not going to be soaking with a shoulder mount, so you're going to have to soak with little Pyromanes or Ovis's. There's tons of room in here. You can fit Indie Forges, Replicators, etc. And another benefit to building here is in the underwater bubbles on the center, you cannot throw out cryopods, meaning they cannot uncryo turtles, stegos, anything you would normally be able to throw out in Ratholes to soak. You cannot do that with this one, making it extremely strong when fully set up. And here I'm just showing off what can fit in here. Obviously set it up better than this, but you can see the forge and the replicator do fit. Tons of room, but you need a transmitter to be able to breed anything in there. Moving on to the next one, we are closer to like South Ice at this point. This entrance does have two entrances, but they're side by side, meaning you can defend them with the same defenses. You don't actually need two different defenses. Here's the bottom entrance. This one has tons of room. It's not as known as a lot of the other ones in the game, which is why I included it on the list, is because it's more unknown. And then you have this whole corridor under here. This is where I would store most of your loot, and then you can use all the vertical space at the entrance for breeding. I don't think there's any dinos in which you wouldn't be able to breed in here, making it extremely strong. Tons of space to work with. You just have to know how to utilize vertical space. You can have tons of aggressive Thylas in here too, which would help a lot with defenses whenever they throw Stegos in. Helps you preserve a lot of ammo. Replicators do fit, Indie Forges do fit. Once again, just showing you everything fits in here. Organize it to the best of your ability. That's pretty much all for this spot, so moving on to the next one. We're on the edge of the map at this point. If you go down to where the ice palace is, this one's gonna be up in the ceiling of that same room, right above the waterfall. Makes it really easy to locate. If I remember correctly, yeah, this one's also a crouch, making it extremely strong. So you have to crouch into this first room. This whole room should be turned into nothing but defenses, because that's a crouch room, very easy for defenses. And then you gotta drop down. That's also very good for defenses. You got a drop down and a crouch, so two very strong points. This one also does fit replicators and Indie Forges. It's very awkward to work in this area because nothing's flat in here, but if you're a good builder, you can easily make this work. I would recommend taking a different spot for breeding. I personally want to breed in here, but I guess if you want, you could. It's just very difficult with the way the base is actually going to be laid out in here. Lots of room to work with though. It's just very tight. I think this is the only spot that Indie Forges and Replicators will fit, so you don't really get a ton of options on where your crafting station is going to be. It's going to be right here. That is one of the downsides to this. Another strong point is that you're up in the ceiling with this rat hole, meaning they need a Quetzal to raid you, because you can't even build a ramp up this high. You'll be too high to continue placing structures, at least until cliff flats are added to the game. then they'll be able to obviously use cliff plats. The next spot, I haven't seen this one posted anywhere else either, but it's not that great. I just included it on the list as another alternative. But basically you're going to come down here, you can fit replicators and ND forges in here, you got a ton of room, not a ton of room, but enough room to work with, and only one entrance, so it is still a very viable base spot, definitely not even comparable to the other ones on this list, but more than likely the other ones will be taken, so this is still a good option. Before I end off this video, I do want to give a shout out to the current server I'm playing on. Its name is TBS. It's a no-wipe server, and I will be starting fresh on their aberration map when it drops. They have very active admins that speak multiple languages and are very responsive, making their servers stay fair. And they have lots of mods in place to help new players get started. There's starter kits and a point system where you can buy tames and gear with points you earn just by actively playing the server. There's also the shiny dino mod that spawns higher level wild dinos that you can tame for higher than average stats to start your breed lines. So if you're looking for an unofficial server to play with little to no admin interference, then TBS is an amazing option. It's the highest no wipe server, even topping the Underground, which has been in the lead for a couple years now. And the reason for that is TBS doesn't have admin abuse like the Underground does, so as the Underground dies, TBS will slowly steal more and more of their players, making their pop even higher.